Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Pondering Fridays with Bina. Today I'm going to talk about one of the smallest parts of your body, but from what I've read and from what I've learned, most likely one of the most important parts as well. Let's take a journey into the center of your brain, where you'll find a pine cone shaped little nugget. It's only the size of a grain of rice, but has is so immensely essential to how we sleep, how we make decisions, how we perform, how we think, our reproductive cycle, our immunity, our mood, hormones, etc. It is such an essential part of us, but we don't often learn about it. And today's my chance to share my knowledge of what I've learned about the pineal gland. Tiny, it's so tiny. It is primarily responsible for managing our sleep cycles and gets light through the eyes and acts as the body's light meter by absorbing light through the eyes and secreting hormones that go throughout our body for the things that I mentioned earlier. But one of the most important hormones that it does synthesize and secrete is melatonin, which is our sleep meter, which manages our sleep meter and our circadian rhythm. And the pineal gland is responsible for telling us whether it's night or day, what season it is, and whether or not we need to go to sleep. So it's a pretty damn important thing because, for anybody who loves their sleep as much as I do, and anybody who reads about, the science of sleep as much as I do, will know how fundamentally important a proper night's sleep is to everything, to how you function the next day, to how you function the week after. One shitty night's sleep doesn't only affect you the next day, it's a snowball effect. It'll just keep going and keep going. So I'm the type of person that even if I have friends over, and some of my besties will attest to this, that, come 10, bye, I'm going to bed. Nice, yeah, thanks, but I'm done, I'm going to bed, I'm getting my sleep. So I want to talk about, first, the pineal gland, and like I've said, why it's so important. But the problem is that our modern day society and the shit that we put into our bodies and on our skin is really starting to fuck with that little grain of rice who's working so hard to help us out. How the modern day society is fucking with us is by something called calcification. So you can imagine this little nugget in our brain almost being turned to stone by all the shit that's been sent through. And unlike the rest of our brain, which is protected by or isolated by what's called the blood-brain barrier, the pineal gland is second to the kidney, the organ, it's tiny, but let's just call it an organ for lack of a better word, the organ that gets the most amount of blood through it. So all the shit that you eat, all the cuck that's in your body, all the stuff you breathe in, eventually goes to this little guy who's really just, fighting to help you out. One of the main culprits when it comes to calcifying the pineal gland is fluoride. And yes, I know it's a trace element, and is available, or is available, in very small quantities in natural rock and bodies of water. But something called hydrofluorosilicic let me start that again. Hydrofluorosilicic acid is a byproduct of the aluminium manufacturing system, as well as the, what is it called? I've written it down here, the phosphate fertilizer industry. So imagine in the 40s and the 50s when manufacturing started, really, really growing. The Industrial Revolution was upon us, and shit, man, they were making all the stuff, but there was a lot of cuck left over that they didn't know what to do with, and fluoride was one of them. By throwing it into big rivers and big bodies of water and lakes and feeding it to livestock, farmers and manufacturers and farmers and manufacturers and other people, sorry, I can't remember the word, started realizing it was actually making their crops and their animals and their livestock very sick. So some very clever people at something called the Mellon Institute, and I do this because it's air quotes because I'm not actually calling them clever. They came up with the idea that, you know, if it's killing livestock, it's killing crops, why don't we just feed it to fucking humans? And that's what they did. The Mellon Institute is also the institute responsible for telling us that asbestos doesn't cause cancer, so my trust levels are not very, very high there. So what they started doing is putting it into our water system, fertilizing, or putting it into fertilizers, but primarily into our water system. And from the studies that I've been reading to get to this pondering is that up to 50% of the world's municipal water is fluoridated. It's very hard to get away from. You absorb it through your skin. It's in food. But it's only in these things because it's been added. Naturally it occurs, and that's fine. Trace elements, your body maybe needs a little bit. But we were told, no, you need fluoride in the water. Oh, no, wait. Not told. They were like, okay, we're going to add it to water, but we need to kind of figure out a way to convince, you know, the increasingly stupid society why it's a good idea. So let's just tell them that's really good for their teeth and convince them that without it, they're going to have really bad teeth and not be able to chew and whatever else. So what's now become one of the most sophisticated PR cons in the whole world has not only caused us sleep issues and hormonal issues. I mean, it's also been directly linked, the intake of fluoride and the calcification of your pineal glands also been directly linked to female reproductive system. And part of the reason why young girls these days are getting their periods so early, because puberty, the hormones that it releases is just like making young girls, you know, mature way earlier than they should. So, in light of this, fluoride's really bad for you, but how do you get rid of it? It's very, very difficult. One of the ways that I'm going to, you know, barefoot Bina, the 2 weeks that I've been spending as much time as I can barefoot, I like to experiment on my own body. Nobody can stop me from doing that, so that's what I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to try to do it for a month to see if it manages or helps with my hormones, especially around like PMS time. It helps with my mood and specifically my sleep cycle. I'm a brilliant sleeper, but you can always improve. So what I've done is I've looked at or done research on the main stuff in everyday life that has the most fluoride, and toothpaste came up. Sensodyne, Aquafresh, Colgate. So much fucking fluoride is added to those things. So I'm cutting those out. I've made my own toothpaste with bicarb of soda and coconut oil. And for the next month, I'm going to be using that as I started this morning. Really, really clean. My teeth haven't felt smoother in a very long time. And I haven't got that like really gross taste at the end of the day. So something must be going on. So for the next month, homemade, hippie toothpaste, and I'm going to see if it makes better. If it makes me feel any better. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. I do think it will. And I'm also going to avoid drinking tap water as much as possible. I don't do it enough, or I don't do it a lot, but avoid drinking tap water and, you know, being a bit more sensitive about what I put in my body. That is it for now. Barefoot Warrior feedback will also come next week because it'll have been 3 weeks by then. It's a bit cold today in Cape Town to be barefoot, but I have learned a lot about my body by taking off my shoes. Really, really hope you have a great weekend. Namaste, and I'll see you later. Bye.